All right, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our first ESG webinar hosted by the GSMA. My name is Alix Jaguenot. I'm the head of external affairs at the GSMA. And for those who don't know us, GSMA, we are the global industry association representing mobile operators worldwide. So today we're going to be discussing ESG performance. How do we accelerate impact and performance in the mobile industry? For those of you who are maybe not so familiar with the topic, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance issues. And you might have noticed the real explosion and increase in attention around ESG in the past, let's say 3 to 5 years. It's really become frontline in a lot of discussions and on the board agendas with investors, which is leading to positive developments as we see investors really making ESG central to the decision making in their decisions. But we also see increased scrutiny around companies and what businesses claim is good ESG practice. So to try and navigate that at the GSMA, we have been working with operators for some time now to accelerate ESG performance and to really look at what, as an industry, should be considered most material. Where do we have most of an impact? What are the risks associated to deploying mobile broadband networks across the world? And how do we really measure progress and efforts being made by different operators? We're going to talk today about the ESG metrics for mobile framework that we have launched a couple of weeks ago together with mobile operators and with our partner EY, who is with us on this event today. You'll hear a lot more about that throughout the discussion. We're going to talk about how do we communicate about ESG performance, how do we measure impact, how do we really talk about that with investors, with shareholders, with employees, but also about, in the communities where different operators operate. I would like to introduce Praveen Shankar from EY. EY has been our partner throughout this work and has worked very closely with us to develop these ESG metrics for mobile. Praveen, you are the UK and Ireland TMT market lead at EY. Thank you for joining us today. I know you have a busy schedule. And I'm going to turn to you if you could set the scene, and just give us a bit of context around what you're seeing actually in the market currently around ESG and the impact it's having on telcos. Over to you, Praveen.
So first of all, we are delighted to work with GSMA, and we are really excited to be talking to you on this very important topic. Sustainability and ESG topics are very close to our heart, as these are aligned to our purpose of building a better working world. And what I was also very delighted to see and was encouraged by was the huge interest and engagement from our clients once we launched this paper. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about 5 key points to recap on the context of this work before Nadia walks us through the details of the KPIs. So the first one is the focus on ESG performance has never been higher. Our society is demanding this. Our investors are looking forward to this. Our employees, our clients, our consumers are all expecting that we take strong actions on ESG performance. 76% of consumers say that they will end their relationship with companies that treat the environment, employees, or their community poorly. 89% of investors say that they would like it to be a mandatory for the companies to report ESG performance against a set of globally consistent standards. And at the same time, better ESG outcomes can unlock greater financial value. 70% of the enterprises are interested in 5G and IoT use cases that can help them meet their sustainability goals. And as we all know, carbon efficiency goes hand in hand with cost efficiency. Second point, mobile operators have a dual role to play in moving the dial on ESG, to transform their own organization and ecosystems, and to use their role as digital enablers to drive sustainability journeys of businesses across the sectors. And this sector has a significant influence to drive the sustainability narrative and shape the behaviors of end consumers. So there is a need of consistent set of industry-specific KPIs which target actions on areas that will have the maximum impact. Our research shows that many operators find it challenging to fully report the information deemed to be material by the sector, and we see significant fragmentation in the way operators currently report against their key topics. For example, 96% of the top 25 operators report on energy consumption, great, but only 52% report on e-waste management, which is another big challenge for the sector. So with this context, we have defined the first version of the KPIs as small set of KPIs that are actionable. These are intended to be the starting point for driving consistency and comparability across the industry, and are focused on the most relevant topics such as environmental, digital inclusion, digital integrity, and supply chain. A few of these areas, such as digital inclusion, have been overlooked by the sector agnostic standards. And when we speak to the operators, they have expressed that their contribution towards such an important topic has not been recognized and highlighted enough. And the final point is to move from ambition to execution. Measurement is the first step. So I encourage all of the operators to engage with these KPIs, take them to the leadership team for buying, adopt them in reporting, and most importantly, based upon the results of these KPIs, drive actions to move the dial for the telecom sector and for our clients. With that, I'll hand it over to Nadia, who is going to take us through the details of this KPI framework. Thank you. Off to you, Nadia.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Praveen, for this great introduction. So yes, we're going to hand over to Nadia. Nadia is our Sustainability Director at the GSMA. She's been working over the past year very closely with a group of operators and EY and other partners and experts to get to what we published last month, these like 10 metrics, ESG metrics for mobile. So Nadia, I'd like to invite you to explain to us where we landed, why did we start this work, and then we'll have a great discussion and we'll start talking about some of the points that Praveen introduced during our panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Alex, and welcome everyone. I'd now like to take you through the details of the framework and the white paper which we developed and recently launched, and to share with you how this work came about and the value that we hope it will deliver. So a little bit of scene setting here. I think this has already been largely covered by my colleagues, Alex and Praveen. But basically, if you have already decided to attend a webinar on ESG metrics today, then I don't need to explain to you the sharp recent rise in attention being attracted by ESG data today and the importance being placed on it as an indicator of value that is expressed in some of the stats you see on this slide. But as you are probably aware, the current system of how ESG information is demanded by stakeholders and reported by companies and read and understood by analysts tends to be fragmented and inconsistent. This causes an overwhelming burden on reporting companies, receiving requests on unlimited topics and reporting against a multitude of different standards. Note the stat in the top left of your screen, and the data produced can be wildly inconsistent, rendering it far less useful to stakeholders. So therefore missing an opportunity for ESG data to be used as a really reliable indicator of performance and value. So the GSMA last year created a working group of operators who represent nearly half of the world's mobile connections. This group is in fact growing as this collaborative work continues on ESG. We worked in partnership with EY, with whom we jointly launched the white paper in June of this year. And we also worked with the Yale Centre for Business and Environment, who got us started off and guided us through some of the strategic elements of this process last year. Our objective was to create industry alignment and foster a more efficient system for measuring and communicating ESG data on the sector's most material areas and demonstrating value to its stakeholders. This resulted in the development of 10 core industry-specific and actionable KPIs. There are many developments taking place by global organisations and regulators responding to the need to create convergence and establish universal standards for ESG reporting. This is something that we are in great support of and have taken the World Economic Forum Stakeholder Capitalism Metrics here as an example of a universal reporting framework that we hope to see more operators adopting. However, to drive down to what is truly material and an indicator of value and societal impact, an industry-specific lens is also crucial, and we propose it as a layer to complement universal reporting adoption. So now we move on to the framework itself. The section in yellow shows the subject areas and indicators of the mobile industry KPI framework, ESG metrics for mobile. And in green is the areas covered by the World Economic Forum Stakeholder Capitalism Metrics, the universal layer I mentioned on the previous slide. So the ESG metrics for mobile framework, as I said in yellow, is structured by pillars of environment, digital inclusion, digital integrity, and supply chain. Some metrics are quite common sustainability areas that you would expect to see in most universal frameworks, perhaps, that at first glance aren't particularly industry specific, but what we've done is we've added that industry detail to the KPI itself. This is the case for some of the climate and environment indicators, for example, whereas for others, the material issue in itself is very unique to the industry. For example, those metrics under digital inclusion, we expect these metrics to deliver the value of informing stakeholders about the most material impacts and drivers of value for our sector, and also to amplify impact by encouraging strategic alignment on KPIs and potentially even target setting in these areas. We've selected these pillars to begin with, but this isn't to say that these are the only material issues for the industry. You will see in the green universal layer covered by the stakeholder capitalism metrics, these do cover other issues that we do already deem material to our sector. The finer details of these metrics can be found in the white paper, and if you haven't already, we do encourage you to take a closer look there. But well, of course, we hope you have already had a good look at our white paper. So moving on to the metrics, where possible, these metrics align to or are modified from those of existing international reporting standards and frameworks. So many operators will find that they are either already reporting or collecting much of this data, or something very similar, which relates nicely to this all-important criteria on the left, feasibility. It was really important when selecting these metrics that it was feasible for operators to adopt them, because that adoption and alignment was such an important part of the objective. So just to explain, the left, these are the selection criteria that we used in order to bring what was originally a long list down to just 10 core KPIs. And as you see, it's meaningful, decision useful, comparable, feasible, and the best indicator for the topic, really driving down to the heart of the issue that it's demonstrating. And moving on to the value, we identified values and benefits to both operators and stakeholders in creating adoption and alignment of this framework. To summarise a few of them, on the operator side, we hope that the reporting process should be streamlined and more efficient and focused on what is really truly material. It should support strategic decision making and create industry alignment on strategic goals, potentially amplifying impact and improving recognition from relationships with stakeholders, and so that they're better informed about the value being delivered. On the investor and stakeholder side, we hope they will be much better informed and have a deeper understanding of that industry-specific detail and context that can make the difference to the value being indicated in a given metric. It should provide the conditions and settings for a more accurate analysis and comparison of data. And overall, we envisage that the relationship and dialogue between company and investor will be greatly enhanced as parties are better informed and focused on what is most material. And the level playing field created could provide the setting for the future generation of much more reliable data, with which we hope to be able to demonstrate a more accurate correlation between ESG performance and financial value. So now just on my last slide here to discuss with you next steps, you can access the white paper and read more supporting materials on the website at GSMA/betterfuture/ESG. And we have an open consultation period, which is open at the moment until the end of September, which we're incredibly keen to get as much varied opinion and perspective on as possible. So please do respond, and please do share with your contacts and stakeholders, encouraging them to respond too. And please do engage with us. Reach out to us with any questions, or if you'd like to join our operator working group, or any other opinions or involvement that you suggest. We are definitely here with our ears open, because that is what this collaborative process is all about. And for operators in this last step, we are really focusing now on adoption as the best way to realise and improve the value of this project. We will be providing more information in the coming months on this, but if you have any questions on the implementation of these metrics, please do reach out to the sustainability team here at the GSMA. So now I'm going to hand back over to Alex.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nadia. You know, great overview of the framework, of the metrics and the priorities that have been identified. Thank you as well, Praveen from EY, for being our partner on this work and joining us today. And thank you everyone online. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much, and bye.